Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. The FBR on the Nashville Scene.
So
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of trust there from what I'm hearing, just kind of embedded in the way that you work, whether it's sharing lyrics to something that you wrote a while back. Um, I did want to just kind of ask you a follow up or kind of mention so Nashville, that machine, kind of like you're talking about, right? That just produces so much. I'm so curious if an area like that, in your opinion, is it supportive for musicians? Now, I would assume that in a lot of ways it is, but there's also so much happening in
yeah,
one
I
area.
think
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's it goes back to like I mean, growing up, I listened to a lot of the country music. I was in the the beginnings of well, I guess what they call the bro country era, and I definitely like I can turn on the radio, I can enjoy some of those songs. And I think a hit is a hit for a reason, and why it can gain that kind of the traction that it does. But I don't know if necessarily it just kind of depends on the type of artist too, because there's a lot of talented singers out there that they may not have an interest in writing at all, and so they go and they find their songs, and I think that that is just as creative of a process in its own way. As far as, hey, I'm going to go listen to this collection of great songwriters put a really great album together, and then there's just differences. Like with us, it's we want to be deeply involved in the entire process from the minute a pen hits the paper to mastering, like everything in between. We want to be a part of. So Nashville, I just know like a lot of stories I've heard from other artists where they get the song, the demo from the publisher, and they go in the studio, and somebody's already cut all the other parts. So they're just coming in and singing. And a lot of young artists that I knew in my 20s growing up here, they were expressing that frustration that it's like, they wanted to be more involved in the process. And I think that Nashville changing and, becoming a melting pot for so many genres, it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of here in the next 10, 15, 20 years, because people are realizing, oh, there may have been this one way that worked for so long, but so many people are trying different things now.
I think to your point, your question about supportive in Nashville, I think there's always been, since I've lived in Nashville, a lot of influx of writers and musicians coming through. There's an outflux also constantly. It's and that's why the associations exist. There's the McConaha Association, Music Association. There's CMA. There's all the different associations. I think those try to create those communities for writers and workshops for the writers, and I think those help. To not only learn the craft, because it's a craft. It takes a lot of work to learn how to be a good songwriter, but then you have to take. You almost get this idea of what you think Nashville wants, and then you can get caught up in that and not actually do what you want or what is in your heart. You start trying to give them what they want, and they're going to let you know if they don't want it.
Yeah, they'd let you know. I mean, I can't tell you the multiple times in my 20s that I heard, yeah, we just would want to put you with these writers and actually already get you some songs. And here's the deal, like, you need the Daisy Dukes and the cowboy boots look, and we need to kind of doll you up. And it was very disheartening for a long time, because it just felt like, but I'm not manufactured. Like, I have stuff to say, like, so it's definitely, there's certain pockets, I think, in Nashville, and like we've been lucky enough to find just this very kind of tight knit, eclectic, like they protect the sanctity of like being weird and owning who you are, and that's something that I find invaluable here. I mean, that's why I'm still here after 10 years. I would have left a long time ago if I would have stayed around some of the stuff in the early days, but I came to Leaper's Fork, and like they truly do out here nurture the arts.
And
like
Music Row, it tends to be that manufacturing facility, and it's like the George Strait, Alan Jackson song, about killing country, or they murdered country music on Music Row. It's true. They created a new era of,
Well, it's a
she called
different
it broke,
genre. Like, I've split it off.
but it's
the
not
pop,
country anymore.
It's the pop
Yeah.
country. It's the
Yeah.
and now but they're still calling it country. And I think people need to be okay with calling it pop country and stop calling, Americana, roots, all these other genres. Stop calling those country let them be country again.
We don't feel like we're a country band at all, but we keep getting reviewed, and it's okay. We like that. We have some country songs, but we're kind of,
I don't know what we are.
We're collective. We're kind of all over the place. I write Irish songs.
Yeah, the next album's
going
to have like 2 Irish songs on it. So.
And it's just we're all over the place. Blues, rock, southern rock.
How do you take all those and one, synthesize them into your sound, but also stay true to yourself to produce something that's commercially viable?
Oh,
well, we're still learning if it's commercially viable or not.
Yeah, we're still learning about the commercially viable.
But one thing that we did that was kind of ironic, I was kind of leading up to, is that we recorded a few songs with one process, using kind of the Nashville process of hired guns in the studio and piece by piece by piece. But the bulk of the album we live tracked. We did it ironically on Music Row with some. A friend of ours got us a space and after hours.
Yeah, we got the Moonlight discount, and we took the whole band in there.
We're very grateful to Kent Wells for getting us that space. It's his studio, and Kevin Willis. Dolly was recording at the same time in the same spot during the day, and then we go in at night, to do our thing.
Her infamous. She always eats. I learned this from her through people that work with her. She always has Lay's potato chips when she records, and one day we were in there like 20 minutes later, and there was still some chips on the plate, and my best friends and I were cracking up.
A tray right beside the microphone.
Yeah,
should have sold them on eBay.
Huh?
Should have sold them on eBay.
Right, I should have. Totally.
And fun fact, she ended up being on that album.
I did. I got to sing on the "We Will Rock You" part on "We Are the Champions." They called one day. They're like, "Hey, we need some gang vocals. Can you come in?" I was like, "Yeah, I can do that."
But I think to answer your question, going back to the continuity of sound, with the same players, our players are all the guys in the band are very talented and very unique. We've got Evan Opitz comes from a jazz background in Chicago, and he's got a really cool stylistic approach to his guitar playing, and he also will get creative in the studio. And going the way we did, we were able to bring more of that out. And like each individual person brings their own zest, and that translates to every song. Even if it's if you go from an Irish ballad to a blues song, there's still continuity because you've got the same players, you got the same space. It's live tracking, so it's a vibe that we go. The vibe is what carries through everything, I believe.
I think it's that, and I think it's also like we've established like we're kind of like we see ourselves as a duo, even though we're a band. Because at the end of the day, like we'll go do acoustic stuff together, and then we have full band shows. But having the trust and the collaborative process with the guys in the studio, there's no like wrong answers. It's never we shut anyone down. It's like, hey, let's try this first. Oh, can you do this? Okay, do you have any ideas? And we get that bass down, and then we give Evan some leeway with his overdubs on guitar because we didn't write those guitar solos. He did Empty Room, and it was him, and it came out of him, and it was it was amazing. So
and Brandon puts these nice, beautiful, ethereal touches on the keys.
Just everybody's got their vibe, and they know what we want too because we've played together live now for a while.
Another thing too that led to the organic feel is that the first couple of songs that we recorded the Nashville way, everything was to a click track, and our drummer Mike, he was like, let's just try it without a click track. Let's just play. Let's just play.
See what happens.
Play. And that's what we did. We did it with every song, no click track. And yes, it might be a little bit.
There's a little bit of breathing in there, but it gave it like so much more of a live feel.
It made it more organic and
And we trusted him, and that was the other thing. When he said that, I mean, all of us were kind of like, are you sure? And he's like, I promise, let's watch. And so Kevin, our engineer, he kept a really good like sense of the time, like, behind the board. And if things were off, you know, we'd stop, we'd do 1, 2, 3 takes, and then he'd work his magic. Everybody, you know, certain people weren't isolated. We had Mike isolated. He had an acoustic guitar, so we had him isolated. And I was in there singing live, but we redid all the vocals afterwards because I was singing them 3, 4, 5 times in a row.
Except on Skies of Donegal Blue.
Except Skies of Donegal Blue. That one, I got vetoed, and we kept the scratch vocals. They were like, no, it's just so emotional and raw. It does not have to be perfect. Like, stick with the raw. And so I was like, all right, I trust you guys. Let's do it. And I think it came off well. So I was staying.
That was Jim Scott pushing that.
Yeah, and that was the other thing as far as, you know, being able to stay true, but still try and give it that commercial viability to where it's just not so far, you know, left of center that people are just like, what is this? We had Jim Scott in California. We drove out there. We took a whole cross-country trip to
with our camper and our dog.
With our camper and our dog.
A hard drive.
Yep, and a hard drive. And we drove out to California and spent 7 days, 12-hour days in the studio with him, mixing everything, a live performance mix on a Neve. And so, you know, because so many things were so like, you could have, yes, we could use that guitar track, or maybe we could have the acoustic up a little more. It made us actually commit to a sound, and then that was printed off. And, you know, that's the record. And he even told us, like, this is decision time. Don't be afraid to speak up, because in 2 weeks, if you call and say, hey, can you turn the acoustic up on, you know, Rain On, we have to remix the whole thing. So.
And Jim Scott's mix, too, also helped bring those other songs that had not been live tracked. It helped to bring those in and give them continuity too as a whole.
Yeah, and he was really good about, like, on those songs. You know, there was a lot of compression on my vocals. There was a lot of, like, smoothing over and softening of them, and he started pulling off a lot of that stuff because they still had the computer set up and they were pulling the tracks to the Neve. So before we even got to doing that, he was like, no, we're taking that off. We're taking that off. Now listen to this without all of this compression. And at first I was kind of taken back. I was like, oh, no, cover it back up, please. It was just because you're not used to hearing the other songs I'd gotten used to, but those 3, I just heard that Nashville polished sound. And I mean, we stripped back lots of layers. There would be like 100, 150 tracks on there. And we just stripped it back to drums, the great organ parts, the great keys, you know, the great guitars, and then the vocals, we just kind of pushed them forward and let them live a little more. And I think it kind of drug it back over to the, like, for me, that kind of, like, rootsy rock element that I felt like had kind of been getting lost.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.